Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to SJJMAS number 19. The streak continues. This is the real deal. Accept no cheap imitations. You've made it to the right place tonight. And with our very special guest tonight, it's Claire Khaw, everybody's favourite. Welcome, Claire Khaw.
Hello, and a happy Christmas to one and all.
Yes, indeed. And by the way, in the preamble before the show, I meant to say to you, everybody expects you that you're going to sing a Christmas carol, so I hope you've got one in mind for later.
Oh, we'll be singing it together, won't we?
We can. I'm not opposed to that. So
Okay. I'll get
keep
the lyrics ready.
yeah, keep something in mind. We were just chatting before the show of the um the the SJ is going pretty damn well for the first time. I mean, pulling it out of the hat, I've been actually pretty pleased with how it's gone. It's difficult in the background to get guests and everything, but it's just like I don't know, somehow it's just all coming together.
Yeah, you've
Um,
got lots of mates who just, like to have a good natter with you anyway, and you've got plenty of those guests. Um,
what do you mean
so,
those guests?
you've got plenty of mates, right? And you've been chatting to them. But I am trying to get you to, well, have e-personalities to come and, well, be a little awkward or whatever. Because, come on, this is really a millennial rival, isn't it?
Yeah, let me double check my audio again. Yeti microphone is on. I'll just unplug and replug.
Oh, is it a bit low again? Well, I can hear you fine. And I think you need to
Okay.
steal at least one of his guests.
Who's guests? Millennial Woes. Let me know in the
Yes.
chat if my volume is any better, please. And if not, I'll pump it up even more. Sounds good now, says Interdimensional Lizard. Thank you very much. You see, everybody in the chat, you've passed the test tonight. This is what I need to hear straight away. Very, very good. Wonderful. We've got it sorted. So, look, I don't think I can poach Millennial Woes as a guest. What it is, right, is I'm not used to doing this. So this kind of just talking to people I've never spoken to before is well, it's out of my wheelhouse, right?
Well,
So
you did.
it's
You
tricky.
were fine with Stefan, weren't you?
Yeah, but I've at least spoken to Stefan on a space before.
Uh huh.
I mean, if it's somebody I don't know that I've never spoken to, I'm like, okay, I've got to like now research, plan something out, and prepare loads of questions. And what if you ask them a question and they like give you a one-line response, and you were like, I'd really hope that they ramble for like 10 minutes on this.
Have you been watching Millennial? Because I sort of feel that this year I've been watching them for you, and you haven't watched any of them at all.
Well, I mean, I have done 18 streams in the last week, basically, in the last 10 days, so it's quite difficult for me. I'm working every day. Mycroft says it still sounds gay. Can you fix that? You bastard. So, it's difficult for me to fit Millennial in. I'm going to, obviously,
I know.
because we do.
I watched them, and I sent them to you with comments. So
CCG says the logo looks like 3 months' work alone. Now, that is somebody who can tell work when they see it.
I told him it was crap, but at least he accepted it.
I said, look, if everything is great this year, then how can I improve next year? So, look, it's a shoestring operation. Basically, I've actually got 2 people booked for tomorrow. I've
Oh, right.
got
Anybody I know?
tomorrow. I've got Tharian from the Anglo Gang coming on. I don't know if we're going to do that as part of the Worcester Club as well, or what, because Anglo Gang is cancelled tomorrow. That's not happening. So in that usual time slot, I've got Tharian, and then at 10 p.m. I've got Michael Delabroc coming on the show, and then on Friday I've got Elliot, and Sunday I'll be talking to Luke. Monday, Duvid. And every day I'm just trying to fit people in.
You
So
need to get the girls in. It's the
it's so
girls what give
well,
you the
it's
status.
hard. It's hard. People need to read their DMs and respond. So yeah. Anyway, look, it is what it
I
is.
shall try to procure for you a few girls, if I can.
Yeah. Anyway, so Claire Khaw, this is your big night tonight. We're actually here to talk about you tonight. So yeah. So why don't you pitch it to me? Come on, explain to me why. Basically, if you're not aware of it, let me introduce Claire. She basically thinks that white Sharia is how we save the West. So obviously, I
Yay!
disagree with this concept,
But
but
you haven't got a better idea. All you do is hate, hate, hate.
well, pitch it to me. Come on, pitch it to me.
So I'm saying the thing that you dislike may be good for you. There's a Quranic verse to that effect. And anyway, what I've been doing is getting more and more annoyed because as I've been saying earlier, I've been watching Koraniyule for you, and there've been a few interviews when they actually said, "But what is the solution?" And it's the same old crap. We're gonna send them home. We're gonna make them pay for their passage home, and we're gonna send them home, and we're gonna send them home, and we're gonna send them home. Yeah, that's it.
Well, you see what you mistake is that the analysis that everybody has of the current problems with our societies. Most people would be happy, Claire, if the invaders just went home. This is where it comes down to. So
Yeah, but you need to kind of make them go or make other people make them go. And it's like, when our civilization crashes and burns around our ears and we become a Mad Max civilization, then they'll go. Yay! That's what I hear.
okay, well, I agree with you that the larger dissident right are what I call collapse bros. They are all waiting for like the system to fall around. I mean, this is kind of Gavin Bobby's. I love these guys. Okay, I like them. They're on our team, but people like Gavin Bobby, Mosque Buster, and the Woodlander and whatever. These are guys who are like, the system's going to collapse at some point, and I'm going to create my parallel society, and somehow we're going to succeed. I know, rebirth from the ashes or something. And then you have like Wignats who are like, yes, the system is going to collapse, and then we'll like, I don't know, do things that we can't talk about on YouTube to all these people in our countries, and a new fascist Reich will rise from the ashes, and
Like a
so
phoenix.
so fundamentally, all these people are doomers of the current system. They believe that like the current society has to completely collapse, and then we'll get something better. I disagree with this. I look at somewhere like Brazil, and I think, well, Brazil hasn't yet collapsed. So, what evidence is there that our society will?
Well, I mean, you can't limp along for a while with everything rotten. But that's not the idea. You kind of want to solve the problem of your, white birth rates. And I think but even the minimum of what is required, like, maybe we should do a U-turn, that is not even being discussed. And oh yeah, and there was Benjamin Boyce. I really, really can't stand him. But anyway, he's this sort of smooth talking Catholic. And then he said, I'm a liberal. I identify as liberal. And you could see he was being a bit, Woes was being, and then he talked about somebody called James Lindsay and criticised him. And then Benjamin Boyce said, well, he's a friend of mine. And, immediately Woes backtracked. So, do you know who James Lindsay is?
I'm aware of him. I don't know much about him, to be fair. People keep bringing him up to me. He's one of the characters who are basic. We would have called these characters alt-light back in the day. They have bigger platforms. They garner more of a following. They're somewhat more respectable in polite society, and they basically cook on the explicit questions of race and the JQ and all these kinds of things. So they're considered to be basically like cooks to race realists and the DR and all these people. But James Lindsay in particular is currently floating the idea of woke right. The woke right. And nobody will like me saying this, but there is actually some truth in it. And you're being a bit gaslit by the dissident right, because obviously the dissident right hates the term, and so they're telling all the audience there's no truth in it whatsoever, and it's coming from characters who are so egregious as Constantine kissing that you immediately don't like the idea. But there's definitely some truth in it, academic agent and his bunch of cronies who are, take offence at the slightest bits of bullshit and try to shut other people down and all this kind of nonsense.
What is the woke right? Is it like we're just going to be sexually liberated and kick everyone out? Is that basically it?
No. Sargon for years talked about how both the right and the left play identity politics, and therefore there is a weird horseshoe factor.
About extremes meeting.
Yeah. But also, I might be butchering it because I don't listen to James Lindsay. I don't listen to Constantine Kissin. All I'm talking about is the things that I see with my own eyes. So I see the fact that the dissident right had became something other than the early alt-right. The early alt-right burst onto the scene and was like, we will debate anybody because we're correct. We have the answers. We have the correct analysis, and let's fucking go. Let's debate. And it was it was fresh. It was unafraid, willing to challenge everybody. And now it's not like that. Now it's block, block, block. I'm not talking to you. You're out of the club. You offend me or whatever. So it's completely something different. It's retreated within its hug boxes and is we're not interacting with you. We're not doing this with you. So it's something very different. So I get there's a different phenomenon about it now.
Yeah,
many people on the distant right will even say, I'm not debating you. I'm not interested. I refuse to even engage with you. And these are supposed thought leaders.
Well, I've been the victim of this sort of treatment for so long. I don't even. The harm of doing this is that you will just become more extremist, because I think instinctively people want to know where they are within the pecking order of their group. So if you kick out all the people who don't quite, agree with the main idea, then what will happen is that the ones remaining who are supposed to be agreeing with each other will purity spiral, and that's why you get more extreme forms of the thing, and making you easier to undermine. So in the case of people who don't like Jews, or they kick out all the Jews, and then they just purity spiral as Nazis to be Nazier than the other, and to be Naziest of all.
There's definitely a phenomenon of that. I mean, there's much less of that. Actually, to be fair, there's much less of that, I think, than in the original alt-right. That was going on in the alt-right. But at least these people would fight each other. They wouldn't act like pussies. They wouldn't act like, oh, no, yeah, oh, take great offence at that. Oh, no, oh, you're just trying to tear me down, and all this kind of nonsense. And, oh, don't bring your divisive arguments into my community. Oh,
it's feminine.
It's feminine, it is.
Yeah, and I showed you this exchange I had with what's his name, Herd Immunity, who's a Scotsman who was on Millennial Woes, Millennial, and it's like he was just mirroring the modus operandi of Millennial Woes, which is to block me. Without, but the thing is, his channel was, oh, we're very reasonable here. I'll debate anyone and blah blah. And then you look down his thing, and it's like he's only talking to Godfrey Blue. And then I told him I've met Godfrey, and not that mattered. Anyway, I've been blocked. I mean, I don't think I was being particularly rude.
Well, now here's where I add some nuance to the topic, because you do overstretch it sometimes. I mean, I've seen you over egg it with some people in the past, so maybe I can understand a bit why you might be an exception. Forgive me for saying this, but you might be an exception who deserves blocking now and again. Because you just pester somebody. If they won't take you up on something, you just constantly back at them, back, and not leave them alone. Were you stalking this guy or not?
Because otherwise, they'll just forget, right? So if they block me, at least I've got another one on the list, or another one ticked off the list, basically. So it's like, they won't forget. They won't forget that I've.
So you accept that you push.
Calling.
So you do accept, sorry to talk over you, you do accept that you push people to the point of reactively blocking you sometimes, right?
Well, I always start off nice. I'm always polite. And then, when I know that they're going to take a certain line, then I have to sort of go through the whole thing, Otherwise, there's no point. It's like, I've waited. I'm playing the courtier. I'm being polite and taking an interest, and then and then you realise it's like they're never going to do it, right? And then of course you let rip.
I think there's a lot of people who can't defend their positions milling around. That's definitely true.
And they should concede. If they have any honour, they should concede.
Look, I'll absolutely admit this. There should be more people who'd been willing to turn up, and if they can swat you like a fly, they should turn up and do it, and then go, I've done it, and I've done this. I've refuted Claire, because she's like this pest who hangs around. She's the fly in the ointment, but so many of them let you just buzz around and refuse to come and, give you the beating that you desire, really, don't they?
Because I'm irrefutable, and so they don't know what they... Well,
we'll see about that tonight, won't we?
and they sort of know, and you know, I mean, I told you I was disabled from commenting on I forget which millennial stream, but I was pleased. I was pleased. It's like, well, at least you recognised me almost immediately, you know. So
Oh
I
my god! Did you see? Have you watched that stream? Millennial Woes' public mod team.
yes, I
Oh my,
did.
MWO's public public mod. Oh my god! There's like 5 people on there.
All Americans, I think, almost overwhelmingly American.
Yeah, and it's hello everyone. Tonight we've got Millennial Woes' public moderation team, and we're all here to explain how we keep the community safe and keep
And now,
everybody.
boys and girls,
Oh my god. I posted, "Is this satire?" on Twitter. I knew it wasn't, obviously, but I'm like poking fun at it because, I mean, one of them, I think, well, there's 5 of them. It was basically like Karen, Dave, John, and I don't know, whatever. And Karen comes on and says, the most difficult thing with, well, I don't know what accent she wants. The most difficult thing with running a community is attempting to censor those people who come in and cause division and are rude to one another. And this makes it, these people ruin the community for other people, and we have a very difficult job of weeding these people out to keep a safe space for everybody in Millennial Woes' public chat. I'm like, fuck me. This is like the shit that Sargon used to rail against in 2015. Well, where the fuck have we ended up here from? What is going on?
we don't want anybody hurting each other's feelings by disagreeing with each other on anything whatsoever.
Yeah. But you're a bad person. I'm a bad person for pointing any of this out because, dare I say it, James Lindsay says, the right's gone woke. So anyway,
But this is dangerous because I mean it just means that you know if you're just moaning on Millennium Wind, you're not doing anything, and I think your enemies will just say, well, you know, they're not doing anything. We can just carry on kicking them some more and bring more of them in. I think that's what they think really. It's like, yeah, no, they're just on YouTube moaning and whinging, not even discussing secular or anything else. It's just like you don't have to discuss my idea, but yeah. Oh, did you read my grok answers about why Millennial Woes isn't talking to me and stuff? I thought it was quite insightful.
I did see it. Somebody posted underneath that, I think you've got a crush on Millennial Rose, haven't you? By the way, I do wish to point out, like, somebody left a comment on under one of my things, like, oh, you're obsessed with Millennial Woes. I'm like, no, I'm fucking not. This is like a joke. People ask me to do this, but by the way, you're all here watching this because you're all here watching our millennial, the occasional millennial companion stream because it's what you wanted. So many people said to me, that you and I commentating on it last year was funny and they enjoyed it or whatever. So, I mean, I completely reject this frame that you can't talk about the dissident right, that we're in, I guess now we're involved in it. I guess now, a bit of a part of it, a minor part of it, micro part of it.
Yeah, well, I
I
was a
com-
cheap Chinese imitation, and you're the cheap imitation of the cheap
the
Chinese
The
imitation.
Poundland millennial ripoff. But look, I completely reject the frame out of hand that you can't have a meta discussion about the DR. You can't step back and like go zoom out and look at it from above and say, and analyze it as it's with all the cast of characters in it and talk about it and like be self-aware, because the problem I see with the dissident right is they've got, they've been huffing their own farts way too long, so they're high on their own supply. Many of them are no longer self-aware, such that they end up doing shows where they're like talking about how they keep their communities safe with real strict censorship and moderation. So, and Karen's got her finger on the fucking button ready to chuck you out. So I reject the frame completely. So yes, we're going to talk about the character. There's not enough of it anymore, and it's not punching right. It's just the old English parliamentary spirit. That's what I think. Anyway,
Yes.
that's my view. The parliamentary spirit of the English man was confrontational, to challenge you to defend yourself based upon that you dare open your mouth.
Yes, what do you mean by, whatever you said? It's a, well, I enjoy it. So what's the problem if you, collapse in a heap when somebody asks you exactly what you mean? And this is a
Yeah.
very feminine thing. And I feel that, the non-transgender women are already affected by it. Because they're already thinking like women and protecting their feeling wheelings. Which is
Yeah,
not the idea.
the protecting each other's feelings aspect. I'm absolutely against all this. I mean, how can we? Well, here's the thing: the alt-right or the DI used to consider themselves like, I don't know, a bunch of intellectuals in waiting or something.
Yeah,
A
a
bunch of
vanguard.
a vanguard in waiting. Hey, do you remember at the start of the Trump, like when Trump came into office, like kind of around now in the first term before he'd been inaugurated, but after the election, there was all these people talking in the background in the belief that like Trump was about to hire a number of characters from the alt-right to serve in his administration. I think Greg Johnson floated this idea that he was in communication with the Trump administration. Trump was about to hire a bunch of our guys and all this nonsense. Well, I mean, now people can't even have like an argument with somebody on the internet. They're like, oh my God, you're punching right. How dare you? How dare you disagree? What's wrong with you? So,
I think it would be fun for you to host debates, and the thing is, there has to be somebody, and somebody there. Okay, there'll be two people, right? And then somebody there, as well as you, should say, well, I think, person A won or person B won, because, and they have to say because. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense, right? And obviously, the debate has to be about, and it will be in the title, is X Y or should X be done, something like that. And then somebody will say, well, I think blah 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 because of blah blah.
hey, aren't we without debates anymore? Just you saying that, I've realised they don't happen anymore on the right wing, do they?
I think they happen on modern day debates, but
Oh, I hate that show.
yeah, I haven't watched any recently, but because nobody takes them seriously, because they're missing the final bit of it. It's like who won and why, and they never got that far. It's just people being rude to each other. Well, Jay. I mean, a few summers ago, I spent all months saying, "Look, you have to tell the difference between a valid and a sound argument," and he thought he got it, but I don't think he did. And I think that's important. You need to know the difference so you can weigh up what is being proposed and decide on that basis. It's not foolproof, but it's something.
Do you remember the blood sports days where people would be willing to get into a shouting match with somebody else? Where's all that gone?
Well, we sort of still have it a bit, don't we?
Where, though? What's the last one you can think of?
Oh, I don't know. I guess in spaces. I mean, sometimes I just sort of feel a bit of a bit ashamed when I thought I think I just did the equivalent of kick the door down and say shut the fuck up, and listen to me. But anyway, I haven't been on that many spaces lately.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if this was 2016, then Sargon would be on with James Lindsay slitting his throat, basically. Metaphorically, of course. No, on a live stream. And, they would be having the argy-bargy about something. Now people effectively have retreated towards preening themselves and, just like refining their... It's almost like we now have a distant right that's a market stall, that's a series of market stalls, and people just like put out their wares, and they're
want it to be a boxing ring.
And they're like market traders who, if you come around and you start picking something up, when you're shopping, you'll go around and you'll pick something up and look at it to examine it, and the market trader is like slaps your hand and goes, no close examination. You don't. Are you going to buy it or not? Put it down. If not, don't look too closely here.
That's terrible. I mean, it's not like they're even afraid that you're going to make off with it. It's because, they know it's going to, fall apart in your hands even as you examine it. That is the problem.
Yeah.
It is terribly neurotic, but obviously, if you're going to be proposing something, then it should be well tested, right? I mean, this is just a minimum, and I just find it so, after listening to so many hours of Millennial, it's like, well, come on, it's more than you just yakking away and looking sad at the end of it. But I mean, he did say, it's a community we have here, so we don't do debates. It's like, well, who does, and why doesn't anyone care? And okay, so if we do debates, then we must have some way of saying, who won, and these rules must be simple and consistent and easy to understand.
I'm not saying that Millennial Woes should do debates. In fact, I've given up. Apart from when we do our companion shows, I'm happy to give up moaning about Millennial Woes' show. Now basically, instead of moaning too much about it, just like do my own thing. Which many people would say, would at least I've done my own thing now. Do my own thing. So people would charge, people would lay the charge down. Why don't you do something, if you don't like it, do something yourself then. So at least I'm doing that. I'm also, what else did I want to say? I'm also not necessarily saying Millennial Woes should be more, am I saying he should be more confrontational? Maybe I am. I feel like because he has this spot where he is the top of the top, the top of the calendar for the dissident right to go and do these interviews. It's almost like the duty is upon him to grill these people a bit more. And they're all like the most softball interview you can have. Now, I understand giving people a softball interview. I wouldn't want to grill somebody too much who isn't expecting it and up for it. Because, I mean, that would put anybody else off coming off. But after like 10 years of being woes, maybe like you are duty bound to like get a bit more meat and potatoes out of somebody than, them just presenting their wares, which comes off a little bit, I don't know, a little bit uninteresting.
Well, stale.
Stale. There's still lots of people who love it though.
Well, I mean the thing is,
Go on.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, you can still have a conversation without necessarily agreeing. I'm not saying, millennial world, should you do it in the style of modern day debates? That would be dire, and defeat the whole purpose.
No.
But he could just have people who don't quite agree with him,
He could have a few, couldn't he? He could have a few confrontational ones. Like, I'm willing to take some confrontational ones. Like, I took Black Pigeon Pilled, who was confrontational about, he was here to, basically, argue against, like, what, basically wanted to, like, argue against Wyvern the Terrible, who's, like, consider Wyvern a bit of a friend now, it's friendly to the channel, and it's, like, against my kind of points of view, too, against Russia and that. I'm willing to take that. I just think you should just be, I don't know, because he has the pull, he could pull on some people, surely be willing to like challenge him. The first millennial in 2015 was notable because Sargon of Akkad, Millennial Woes got Sargon of Akkad onto his channel, and they, on YouTube, can you believe this, they debated white nationalism for 4 hours.
Yeah, I saw a bit of it. That was good. But I think, okay, he doesn't... I mean, I know he didn't quite win the debate, but it's like, that's okay. We don't expect you to win everything. Well, maybe some people are not so good at it because, Sargon, he's this sort of fast-talking con man type person, right? I mean, that's Sargon down to a T. So I guess he's just better at these things. But the thing is, it doesn't really change anybody who just prefers the views of Colin. I mean, he might. I mean, Sargon might score technical points, but it doesn't really matter. None of these things. I mean, Bose could be a bit more adventurous, like, well, invite some Jew or Muslim on or something like that. I mean, that would attract a lot of attention, I think, or even me. But, and I think, well, what does he do the rest of the year? Live off, what he...
Well, look, he writes his Substack. Whatever. Like I said, I haven't paid attention to anything Woes has been doing all year. So I don't know is the answer. I only become aware of Woes when Millennial kicks off.
This thing about doing an interview, which was all right.
Mm-hmm. I did have a quick look at that, by the way. It does explain a bit of Woes' style, like I don't want to say the stale interview. People think I'm just like attacking him. Because, of course, he's better than me. He's better than me at it, so who am I to criticise? But there's definitely a formality to Woes' interviews that mine don't have. And I guess what I'm saying is, in some ways, I feel like losing some of that formality gives you more substance in a weird way. I don't know. Like if you could mix my Woze's experience with my willingness to ask to, I don't know, ask some awkward questions maybe, or talk about, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, he could just try different things instead of messing around with the animation, for God's sakes. And then he just goes completely over the top. And then, but I mean, the real thing is the interviews and the content and the content
But
and
people,
character of his.
but a lot of people love it. I mean, there's that guy sat in his basement now jerking off because Millennial started. I showed you him, didn't I? He's like, I think that guy wouldn't make it through winter if he didn't get his Millennial this Christmas. He's like sat in the dark going, oh, Millennial is like this light that just fills me with warmth inside, and I feel like, I get this like warm feeling inside when I hear Millennial Woze's voice talking to Morgoth, and it makes me feel like life's worth living. Yeah. Anyway, we've moaned about Millennials. Everybody can. We've moaned about it.
No, but I still didn't. I still
I
didn't
know,
understand what
it's
you were saying about the formality of it, because
a rigidness to interviews. Rigidness sucks the life out of a conversation. And being too prepared, so Millennial always like gets a rubric for an interview. I get it, but rigidness. So I know I've done some rigid ones because but it's much better if you can banter as well as talk, isn't it?
well, he sort of does a banter. But I mean, one of the things I think he did, he does well is the aesthetic. So he gets a camera angle right, he gets the lights right, he's got his lights on right now, right, and the reaction shots and all that sort of thing he gets right, because people kind of want to see his face and reacting to
Yeah.
Whatever he's
Oh, yeah.
he creates an atmosphere of
100%.
intimacy and sincerity,
Yeah.
and open an openness, which I think people, it's like a fireside chat without the fire.
100%. He's got that going for him. The fact he's on camera as well makes it like 10 times the show that you or I put on, really. Black Pigeon Pill has a point here, can't take it away from him. He has created this thing. Absolutely. Yeah. Are you going to give me your solutions yet?
No, you have to be a bit more aggressive. I can't just sort of, get all defensive. You have to imagine yourself
okay.
to be Piers Morgan,
will.
and get things going like that.
I mean, part of the reason we're
Then maybe
talking
you
about
need to
Millennial
kind of,
Woes is because Claire is actually obsessed with Millennial Woes. So this is why her SJJMAS had to include a bit of Millennial Woes banter. If you don't realise, that's why it had to go there. A bit more aggressive with her, sir, says Mycroft wins. Okay.
I think
Claire
maybe
Khaw.
you kind of need to do a sort of, you've got the paid version, you do a bit of, I don't know, interval music, and then you come back raring to go, and you put on your Piers Morgan avatar, something like that. But we just have to kind of set the stage for this, really, and get ourselves in the mood.
What? In the mood? What
For this Piers Morgan, thingy.
Well, aren't you ready to defend yourself?
Yes, I am. Come at me.
Okay. Well, let's have a come to Jesus moment, and then we'll be back, and I'm going to tear secular Quranism a new one, and it's going to lie in pieces at my feet.
A socialist, and yes, unless you simultaneously hate that which negates and threatens your in-group. There's no love without hate. Like, if you love your... Why is my window shaking? If you love your wife, you will hate anyone who threatens her. If you love your... Jesus, it's an earthquake. I was wondering why this shaking. Whoa, this is going on and on and... Oh, fuck. Oh, Jesus.
Claire Khaw, you are now in the hot seat. You have dared to claim that white Western societies should revert to Islam, basically to white Sharia. White Sharia, get the rules out of the Quran and stick them on white people, and somehow this will be better for our countries. For one, it's not our culture. Yes, for one, it's not our culture. We don't want to mimic these invaders. It will only be like waving a white flag to Islam. All we have to do, if we want Islam, is do nothing, and we'll get it within 30 years. Why the fuck would we waste any time from now until then by embracing it, by saying, yes, we want more of you? No, we have to create a hostile situation for this political colonizing force that seeks to dominate us, and is doing so by demographics, by many of their fucking sheikhs and whoever they are on YouTube. They talk about this. They know what they're doing. They're basically sending their people here to have their have children and populate the West.
Stephen, they are breeding and you are not. You have to get yourselves breeding, but within wedlock. That's basically what it's all about. Okay, an analogy that a sportsman like you would understand is like, oh, I have a boxing match. I better train, right? I better punch my punching bags and, I don't know, jog and eat steak or something. And it's like you guys don't get the idea that you have to train and jog around and eat steak and raw egg or whatever it is you do.
We get it. Or should I say, those of us who are aware that the birth rates are collapsing and this is a big problem, get it. We have a temporary
Do we have
problem.
to change the law?
We have a temporary problem where our governments have thrown away their duty to the people, which is to look after them as a nation of people by promoting their welfare from within. And what they've chosen to do is bring in these foreign invaders. I'm going to moderate my language just for YouTube terms here, but
Because you're getting worked up.
I'm getting fired up. What they've chosen to do is attach us to the teat of foreign labour. Now, this is just if you take the economic argument. I'm not even talking about the argument if you believe that people are sat around in a smoky room figuring out how to destroy the demographics of the West. But just if you take the economic arguments, we've attached ourselves to the teat of foreign labour, but now these people are exploiting us at the same time. They're coming here en masse. Our demographics are rapidly being changed, but these are temporary problems of modern day progressivism. It's like we are drunk. We started drinking progressive liberalism, and now we've got drunk, and we can't actually see the effects of what's happened. So our governments and society, they are like people who've been at your mum's 50th birthday party. They've been partying out in the function room for 3 hours. They're blasted, and so they can't see that the whole fucking room has changed.
Stop
but this is a temporary
drinking
thing.
the Kool-Aid.
Yes, they do need to do that. They do need to do that, 100%.
The Kool-Aid of feminism. The thing is, it's like telling a drunk, you need to give up your drink, mate. And of course he's not going to do it. I'll fight you to the death if you try to take that bottle off me. So I think this psychological state has to be recognized, that the thing that you love is bad for you. And the thing that you love, Stephen, is liberalism. You're still saying, "Oh, I like liberalism. I just want to enjoy liberalism without the migrants." But the liberalism led to the migrants. It was a liberal what let them in.
Only recently, though, it's progressivism that I accept it was liberalism. It was the folly of liberalism, a mistake. A mistake has been made because people couldn't foresee, they couldn't project out in their minds 50 years and realise the consequences of it.
Yeah, so
Or they
so
turned
you
a
need to
blind
do a
eye.
U-turn, and
Yes, we
therefore
do.
you need to. I was saying on Vincent's space before I came. It's like you need to slut shame. And it's like, oh, it's another thing. It's like, well, if I slut shame, I won't get any pussy. I can't deal with that. So I just have to, keep pandering to pussy and carry on with the Kool-Aid and the drinking of it. So this is the neurosis that cannot be fixed, because if you can just imagine yourself in a revolving door and you can't decide whether you want to go out or in, so you keep going round and round and round and round until you drop from exhaustion because you can't make
Yeah.
up your mind. And I'm just saying, the only way to resolve the neurosis is to make up your mind. And it can only be through debate and discussion, which I'm actually
Well, I
very
agree with that.
hopeful that it's come to a head. You're here to make the point that Millennial is not doing the job.
Oh well, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. We were talking about it because it's your show, but we'll talk about millennial more. We've moved on from that. We'll talk about that next when we do our next millennial companion show. But I agree with you. Yes, absolutely. We need debate and stuff. Let's get back to secular Quranism. You're not going to get me off this train. We're going to dissect this now. You made the claim that it's going to improve birth rates. How the fuck is it? Do you claim that when I just looked up, for instance, like the United Arab Emirates has the same birth rate as the UK? So this is not a lack of
Because of the
Islam.
working
That
mother
is
and
right.
the working.
Hold on. So the number of women fell from 4.84 in 1950 to 2.23 in 2021, and I think it's dropped to 1.44 already in UAE, according to this here. The fertility rate in the UAE was 1.44 children in 2022. So essentially, it is a phenomenon of modernization, not a lack of Islam, that is causing these birth rate problems. So
The working mother is obviously going to have a depressing effect on the birth rate. Because, the working mother would be embarrassed. It's like, oh, you're pregnant again. You're going to take a maternity leave for the fifth time. Or, it's like, of course she's going to be embarrassed. But the point is that okay, I know a bit of social history of this country. And the presumption in the olden days before feminism was that when you marry and you are at work, it was just assumed that the woman was retiring because she was gonna, obviously gonna, be staying home and looking after the children, and obviously attitudes need to change, and this kind of attitude is so kind of such a huge obstruction that you really need an entirely new belief system, and that's why I go on about secular Quranism, because it's based on a religion. Because you can't say, oh, you just do a little bit of tinkering here and a little bit of tinkering there, and then you'll get your. No, of course not. You have to change the whole thing. It's It's not a matter of changing your seat on the train. It's, you've come to the end of the line and everybody needs to leave. All change, please. All change.
So just to be clear, you think that women should not work at all?
The ones who want to work can work, but the ones who want to become mother, I mean, okay,
Oh, well, that's just the situation we've got now. I mean, this is just the situation we've got now, and
no,
they choose to work.
maternity leave needs to be abolished.
Oh, come off it. How are we going to raise birth rates while not giving women maternity leave? So we're going to force people out of jobs.
And equal pay needs to go. Equal pay needs to go.
Oh
So,
my
so
God.
marriage.
You can't,
That
no,
was what. I'm not making up anything new. That used to be the case, and men have to be emboldened enough to say that's what we
maternity.
need.
No. Maternity leave enables women to have babies.
No, if the woman expects to be provided for by her husband, then she doesn't need maternity leave from anyone. But
No,
of course,
it's
men have to say no maternity
No.
leave, and the feminists will be screaming misogyny, and you obviously don't want to,
Well, we just
deal with
don't
that.
have the wages. Brutus talked about this, that you know, Brutus was saying the other day, it's a scam. Get it? He agrees with you. It's a scam that women go for careers. Basically, the scam is that women have been lied to and scammed into this idea that once you leave college, everybody can go to college, get their A levels, whatever, up to 18 years old. That's fine. But then at 18, what we do is we saddle women with basically like £30,000 worth of debt to go and get a fucking career to. And these women basically they get churned out of university, and then if you've got £30,000 worth of debt, so then you have to get an employment, and so then you have to start earning money. So then you think, well, I need to work for at least 5 years or something, and this is why women are delaying having babies, and this is kind of a scam because the career isn't what you yearn for in your biology. You yearn to have a baby as a woman. This is what will make you happy. But the problem is that wages now can't support a one man's wage. The working man's wage can't support a family on its own. It used to be able to. So now wages are a lot lower. You need two wages
That's why you
to
need
be able
to
to pay
abolish.
rent
You need to
and have a
abolish
baby.
equal pay. And this, I know this takes courage to say because the women will be screaming and yowling and calling you all kinds of names, but it's sort of like that's what's needed. If you want to only have one boss who is your husband, who will be paying for all your crap and the kids, you have to give him a bit of respect and and that's it. And if you're not prepared to, well, just carry on with the coffin of feminism, the coffin of your race and your people. But I get it that actually men don't want to marry women and pay for their shit, even if this kind of scenario were possible just like the pressing of a button. I don't think you're prepared to give up your current lifestyles, and that is why.
What lifestyles? What the fuck lifestyles are you talking about?
I don't know, Deliveroo,
Ugh.
hooker culture. I mean, it's like this is what it takes. That's the least that it takes.
Look,
If you want this
hook up.
monogamy stuff, but you don't want it, so fine, don't have it. You don't want it. I get it. You just like
No, I
talking
think
about
people.
it and then looking sad.
Here's the thing. I do agree that lots of people in society have been convinced or brainwashed, whatever, convinced society, social media, films, movies, TV have convinced people that having children isn't the way to gain fulfillment in life anymore. People used to just not even question this idea. It used to be
Yeah, because the whole idea was like, Patriarchy is a breeding program of our governments. They have to breed us, right? And they don't want us to be degenerate and drug addicted and criminal, so they make sure that anyone who breeds has a marriage license. That was it. It's so simple. In America, it's still called the marriage license, licensing the man and woman in question to have sex and children with each other. That's what the license is for.
Claire, we cannot put the sexual liberation back into the toothpaste tube.
Of course we can. We can say, we were
How?
wrong. We just say we were wrong.
No, it requires it
You're
would
just saying,
require
let's carry
women.
on. We're nearly
It would
at the
require
edge of the
women.
cliff. Let us
No,
walk
this.
off it.
No, I'm not. What I'm just saying is, apart from you are like now one of these collapse bros. Like things are going to
I'm
collapse.
just
I'm
saying,
going to swoop.
turn back from the edge of the cliff. And you're saying, let's
I don't-
carry
no,
on.
no, you're like society's going to collapse. Napoleon's going to ride in, but wearing a fucking burqa this time, and go right. You're all now, under my command, and it's going to go like this. No, reality tells you that any change in society requires voting. We've got to vote our way through it, unless you're a collapse bro. Okay, so
Yes.
how are women going to vote their rights away? It's never going to happen.
Okay, I'll tell you what has happened, because you're finally coming to the question that I've been waiting for, for the
Right.
past, since 2019. Is it 2009? 2009 it was. Anyway, so how is it going to happen? That's a question that I was hoping you'd ask. How are you going to make it happen, Claire? How? And the answer is that, well, we're going to have a referendum to become a one-party theocracy. Okay? We're going to have a referendum. And then your next question is, how are you going to get the women to agree? Right. Okay. So, and you can say, well, women, what would make you happiest? Women? Pretend to be a woman, and I'm this poster.
I can see you're already struggling. It's like it's already hitting you in the front of that. Just what an impossible proposition this would be to women. You're like to go, right? How? Okay, women. What will make you happier? Blah blah blah. There's no way you're going to picture this.
Oh,
to
you're
women.
saying they're beyond reason. I shouldn't even bother, conducting a session of Socratic questioning on them, because it's useless. You're saying they're beyond reason, and I shouldn't even bother.
Uh,
Why
well,
can't you pretend to be a woman, and I'm this pollster, and I'm
No.
going to make you. You're not going to do your squeaky voice, and I'll be.
no, I'm not going to do that. I'd never live it down. Come on, explain to me how you're going to convince women to vote their rights away.
Women, you'd like to be married mothers, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you, Stephanie? That's
All
you.
right,
That's you.
We've gone too far with this. Look, women are going to not take. The response to this is yes, they would at the time and place of their choosing. Thank you very much.
Well, it'll be too late, Stephanie, when you think you're ready for motherhood. You'll probably be 40. No, the best kind of husband you're going to get, Stephanie, who's... Okay, let's say you're just 19. The best kind of husband you're going to get is when you're in your 20s. And, well, after you depart your 20s, it's going to be difficult. So it's
All right.
make up your mind time.
Right. Hey, amazing. We agree that we need to promote motherhood to women. It needs to be a status symbol again. We agree. There needs to be a plan of action to put out propaganda, in culture, to promote this idea that becoming a mother is this elevating place within society where you've made it and this is like a status symbol for women to achieve. And if you haven't become a mother, then God forbid, you're kind of lacking. We don't need to be too harsh on those people who don't make it, but it needs to be something that women aspire to again, just like they aspire to these high-flying fucking careers. So we agree on this much. Yes.
Yeah,
But we can do that without taking away their rights and, revoking their liberties.
What rights? The rights to sleep around, the right to be a slut? Is that what you're so protective about, Stephen?
Well, look, you even yourself said that the state would not be a bedroom police.
Yeah, and I'm saying
Oh, well,
under
there you go.
secular Quranism, unmarried parents would be treated as sex offenders. I'm not talking about banning contraception yet.
This just sounds so much like going back to the Stone Age. I mean, I just can't.
No. I'm
concentrate.
seriously. I'm seriously not planning to ban contraception because that would really kill everybody. They would just, obviously.
Well, I thought you had said in the past that you would ban contraception in an ideal world.
Yeah, but I know
give it
it's a step too far, for the
Right.
degenerates of our time. You have to kind of move them forward, millimeter by millimeter before they kind of get the idea. So I think
My-
people can just sort of think, I think I can
Right.
manage not to.
So you're
become
going to allow
an
girls to have
unmarried
the pill.
parent.
You're going to allow girls to get on the pill at 16 and choose when they wish to have a family, right?
Well, for the first year, I won't.
What?
Okay, let's say secular Quranism comes into force today. I will not be banning contraception, but a year later, I will be banning the pill
So
for unmarried
well, now we're getting
women.
to it. Your idea of white Sharia is the slippery slope to bin bags and full Islam eventually, isn't it?
Licensed brothels in red light districts is a feature of secular Quranism.
Yeah, I get it. You're not against degeneracy, so it's basically you're not against degeneracy, really.
It's just making the point that men cannot be given sex for free because it corrupts their morals, and they can have a cheaper form through a sex worker in a red light district in a licensed brothel, but he's not supposed to get it for free. The point just has to be made, and obviously women, it's like, a woman, would you like to be a prostitute or a married mother? I mean, what do you think she's going to choose? I mean, any sensible woman would
This
say.
just
of course
sounds so fucking archaic. I mean, you just hate women at the end of the day. You blame them for everything. You do.
No, I
you
blame men.
do.
No, I'm quite hard on men.
Well, you just hate everybody. Then you're just a misanthrope.
No, I think you're just pretending I hate
We have to
everyone
fix-
because you hate
Look.
my ideas so much that you want to pretend I
That-
hate everyone in order to discredit my ideas.
Look, I'm trying to play in your sandpit of how this would work. It's just, for one, it's just unfeasible. Women are not going to vote their way out of it. It's never going to happen. Two, it's against our hundreds of years of evolved English society, parliamentary culture. It's against the instincts of the Englishman. I've gone over this many times before, that the instinct of the Englishman is to be free, is to have
So
his
for
liberty,
everybody.
is to representative government, is to make representation, whether that be to his king or to his parliament. Okay, this is the spirit of the Englishman towards debate, towards representation, towards liberty, freedom, and trying to take these things away, and you remove what it is to be the free man in the West.
We're
This
not
thing that we
free. We're not really free.
there's a reason why the West, like George says, there's a reason why the West is the best with all the
Nonsense.
modern day
Your
problems.
ancestors were not like you, because if they were, well, the West would never have become great, would it?
It did become great. It has
Through
become
patriarchy.
way better than any of the Muslim countries around the world, without doubt.
That star has since fallen.
We have temporary problems. We are drunk at 1 a.m. at the Christmas party. Everybody's drunk. They can't see the problems. But at some point, the bar's going to close, and people are going to start sobering up, and they're going to realize that the function room needs cleaning up.
So what is your solution?
So, because we can't we can't get women to vote their liberties away. We have to encourage
Yes,
them.
in a referendum we can. So my thing is, let's assume that we can get a referendum, to say,
On what?
Do you want on whether to become a one-party theocracy?
Sarah
Let's
says
assume. Can we just assume?
nonsense.
Imagine
English
that.
women were property until very recently. What are we?
There's nothing in Islam about women being the property of men. Coverture is a Christian practice. The first wife of Muhammad was a businesswoman. There you go. And she owned her own property, and she hired Muhammad.
Sounds dreadful.
Well, anyway, I mean, the point is made that, in Mohammedan times, women were allowed to own property. While, in, I don't know when coverture was banned, I guess, in Victorian times.
Look, we can't ignore the progress of history. I know people are going to jump on me for that, because I do believe that progress is a boulder that has been rolling down a hill and is an unstoppable force in many ways. And somehow we have to come to terms with it. And we are going to have to find, realistically, if any of you are not just LARPers on the internet, we have to find solutions within liberalism, because the only alternative is one that does look like what the collapse bros are saying. That's the only other alternative. Is like in Syria, the jihadis riding in on the back of Toyota trucks. Okay, that's the only other way that you're going to get this kind of world where you put women back under your, you sign them off to each other as property and all this kind of shit.
But it isn't. I've just explained to you, and you just want this whole thing because you don't want to do it, or you don't want to be seen to be proposing it. I disagree with you about your this boulder rolling down a hill thing. My analogy would be, you are parking, and you need to go a bit forward a bit, you need to go backward, maybe you need to do a 3-point turn or reverse parking or whatever you do to get yourself into that parking space. And that is how you should see it, not a boulder rolling down the hill of degeneracy and death and extinction.
No, it's not that. That is the temporary state of modern day progressivism. I really like my analogy that I've come up with, that we're all at a party, it's late, everybody's drunk, and they just can't see like the mess that the function room is in. I really like this. I've just come up with it
and
tonight.
Somebody's about to call the cops.
Yeah, and we're going to get a rude awakening, okay? Or the bar's going to close. It's like 11:30 and the bar closes at 12. This is where we are in our society right now. And people are going to start sobering up soon. So we have to solve it. We have to realize that all the same people can solve the problem. We just have to come to our senses. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to throw our liberties away. You people are all way too eager to throw your liberties away. That is something that is, when I speak of the boulder that has rolled down the hill, the thing that has been the evolved process over time, that is the unstoppable march towards people wanting to be free from oppression, in whatever sense you might see that as. People don't like to be oppressed.
No, people don't like losing their liberties, and obviously now, because sexual liberation is what is being used to distract us from having debates, proposing improvements and changes. They will, keep offering us, more forms of sexual activity that used to be considered illegal. That's what they're doing. It's like, oh, you're feeling upset? Well, have some sex to take your mind off things. Have another drink. Have you considered taking this kind of drug? How about
Claire,
that kind of drug?
people have fucked for millennia. Okay, it's not a new thing. In fact, they're not doing it enough. This is the other thing about you people who want to like put strict things on marriage and say you can have sex with this one and nobody else, or the government's going to whip you, and have you got your license in place? No, people aren't having enough sex, okay? Do people in the chat?
How do you know if people are having enough or not enough sex?
Because why?
Because you're not having enough.
No, there's an incel
project.
crisis. Women are having too much, but men are having enough. That's the truth of the matter.
We just need to kind of make it more transactional, so everybody understands what they're getting, and then they're not angry, because a lot of this angst is like, well, I didn't know I was supposed to do this in order to get sex or marriage or whatever. And people feel they've been lied to, which is why they're so angry. So you just tell them. You tell them what they're supposed to do. And so, it's like, you tell them what they're supposed to do, but they didn't do it. So, if their eggs have all dried up, in their 40s, that they at least know where they went wrong. And I guess, men are told, no money, no love. And interestingly, I was in Vincent's space, and there's this Arab, and there were these two Americans, and these MRAs are always talking about gynocracy, and like, oh, it's such a surprise and shock that women could be so calculating as to not wish to marry poor men. And the Arab was saying, well, if I were a woman, why would I marry a poor man if I can marry a rich man? So he was just completely rejecting the idea of gynocracy, which is one of those meaningless words that MRAs, men's rights activists like Natty, whom I hope you will have on your channel soon, go on about. And he was just saying, well, certainly this Arab was not complaining about gynocracy, but that these two American men were, and got very offended. He's like, are you trying to tell us something or whatever? And it's like, yeah, I mean, people from these cultures understand the psychology that operates the whole business of getting married and having children. And I think, you weren't told. Nobody told you. Nobody told the men or the women what they expected to do in order to have a healthy sex life with their married sex partner who is married to them. Nobody told them, which is terrible, but there we are.
So
our parents never told us, because I guess they thought we would somehow get it through osmosis, and that, I think, is what a lot of children blame their boomer parents for doing, because they didn't get it, that they need to be told about these things.
Yeah, look, I don't know what the if I could tell you what the reason for the low birth rates is exactly, then I would be, I would get millions of dollars to fix it.
It's the pill. Look at what
No, it's
happened
not
to the
just the pill.
Koreans, the Japanese. The women were put on the pill in at the end of last
Obviously,
century.
yeah, obviously this is part of it. What I'm saying is it's multifaceted. It's not just that. It's everything about the fact that we're in at this late stage of progressivism, that it is women's liberation, it is sexual liberation, it is contraception, it is the modernity, and that the economy is absolute dog shit and it costs lots of money to raise babies. It is all these factors combined together. It is the fact that also that people, in a weird paradoxical way, feel more comfortable. Whilst the economy is absolute dog shit and you feel like you can't raise a family, actually your living standards aren't that bad compared to like 100 years ago. So you don't feel the existential crisis of life, like, and that you like just have to procreate and have a family. I don't know, before you end up dying or something, which is. So it's like multifaceted. It's a big, big problem with no
Yeah.
one
Do
specific
you ever
solution.
wonder why all these Muslims and people from traditional societies, they still breed anyway? So I mean, can you understand that if
Yes, they
for
do
some
a bit more.
reason, if you're religious, you're just more likely to be married parents and have children and stay
Yes,
together. So
there's
there you
so
go. That's your
so.
answer.
Okay, I agree with you. So that's one aspect of it too. A lack of belief. I get it, because religions, in my opinion, were utilitarian systems used for social control and also to like promote themselves. So like even Christianity tells you. I said this to Lewis Wayne yesterday. Christianity teaches you that you must go forth and multiply. So if you must go and do it. Obviously, it says there. If you have religious conviction, you're going to go and do that. You're going to feel like it's a religious duty to go and do it. So I accept this 100%, but that's just another one aspect of the problem.
What?
My opinion, Claire, is that basically you say people in trad societies have higher birth rates, but I showed you United Arab Emirates, 1.44 birth rate
Yeah, because they
already.
have access to the pill and the gay.
All right, so the answer is then they have Islam though. So the answer is then not secular Quranism, not white Sharia. The answer is just take away contraception then. Why aren't you the secular anti-contraceptionist?
Well, I'm proposing to regulate its supply. Did you know when the pill first came out, it was only given to married women? That was how it was done, and until it was given to all and
Okay,
sundry like sweets.
right.
I mean, there was a reason for all those things, and then it all went out the window. I guess the pharmaceuticals who made those contraceptive pills just bribed the government, saying, "Well, everybody should have it. Isn't it wonderful that we're all having sex outside marriage and with no, unwanted pregnancy?"
Right, but the argument is I'm not necessarily this kind of progressive liberal, okay? People get me mistaken, but the progressive argument would be, but so there's these negatives, okay? There's these negatives, but individual liberty is valued above anything really, and what there are so many benefits towards the fact that now women and couples can plan their children rather than it being a surprise upon them, and this allows for much better lives overall. People can now plan their families ahead of time
Okay,
when they're ready for them.
okay. I didn't say I would ban all contraceptives the moment.
Okay,
So,
but let me nail you to the cross specifically on the point that I got to before, which was that the United Arab Emirates has Islam, and they have just as bad of birth rates as us. So it's not Islam that's going to save us. Why the fuck do you want to impose Islam on us? If
Well,
all we need
because
to do
the
is take away contraception.
UAE is well, you know where Dubai is, right? Dubai is one of those swinging cities of the Gulf. Of the Gulf.
Yeah, but that's only for, like, rich immigrants.
Yeah,
I think the rest of the United Arab
they
Emirates lives in
anybody
like
living
poverty.
there would be seduced by consumerism, and people seduced by consumerism, and this includes the Chinese, have lower
Right.
birth rates.
Right, but they've still got Islam, and it's not working for them.
Yeah, but there's no point saying, oh, they had the road atlas. It's like, well, they never stopped to read it. They just thought they could just keep
Yeah, but
driving around and never stop and never take out. Obviously you have, GPS. But I'm saying, in the olden days when they had a road atlas, because it's a bit of a
right,
pain, isn't it? You have to stop your car, and then you've got to, take it out and find the page
right,
and whatever. And people
right,
don't like, they think, oh, maybe I'll get, lucky if I just turn around, this corner, and there will all, be all these signs pointing to places that I want to go.
Miami Virtue
You
says
will
you're
have
rambling
recipe
again.
you never consult.
I think you are rambling again. Look, my opinion is that the Islamic world is basically somewhere between like 100 and maybe 75 years behind the West, if that. Obviously, places like United Arab Emirates are demonstrably suffering the same crisis as us already. They just have like these restrictive
I wish I could go
rights
to
for
Iran. I'd like to
what?
go to. Well, Iran, I mean, I know you're going to say, but I don't think Iran is
It's a
backward.
basket case. It's a basket
You
case.
never been, okay, you want to believe in the propaganda, all right. I think Malaysia's all right, but you'd never go because you don't want to be proven wrong. If you
What's
go
the
back to
birth?
the Far East, you'd still go to Thailand.
Yes, probably I would. Yes.
Yeah. Because you wouldn't want to pay money to be proven wrong. So I kind of get it that you'd avoid all those places in case you like it, right? Then you have to admit that you're wrong.
Yeah. Look at Malaysia now.
Obviously,
Yeah.
I come from.
Come on.
I come
No, come on.
from.
No, I've got to nail you to the cross. Come on. Look at Malaysia suffering exactly the same problems.
Yes, because of the pill.
All right. So it's not
Singapore
Islam
also
that's
has
going to
the
save us.
pill. So it has to be regulated, and I've already addressed
Yes,
this.
but Islam isn't doing anything to save these countries. They're just a couple of decades
Because they
behind.
don't. Look, if you
Okay, I don't know what the heck happened. Can you hear me, Claire?
I guess your Wi-Fi went.
No, I think this is a StreamYard problem because you got kicked out too. We are
Oh,
back. We are back. I type in the chat. It's working now. My God, I think that was a StreamYard server problem. So really sorry about that, everybody. Yeah. Otherwise, if it was just my problem, thank you, everyone. Thank you for bearing with us. Where were we? Let's get straight back into the debate. My contention is that
Birth rates in the Gulf states.
Islamic world is just like a couple of decades behind us.
Yeah, if you don't follow the rules, and you're saying rules, who cares about? I say even if you don't follow the rules, at least when you know you crash and burn, it's like, oh yeah, I didn't follow that rule, so that's why I crashed and burned, right? So they're useful for that reason alone. And you're saying let's just continue ignoring them. So when we crash and burn, then I can say that you were right all along, Claire.
No, I don't want us to crash and burn. I want us to fix the demographics of the country whilst maintaining our liberties. Anything else is unacceptable to me as an Englishman, because otherwise what's going to happen is wars are going to be fought again and millions of people are going to die again. And we need to solve this problem without collapsing into fucking wars and ending up, God forbid, with the 25 points of retardism, thrust upon us, just so that we can, have, just so that we stop, unbirthing ourselves out of existence.
Well, we don't want a collapse because we don't want to put our descendants, if any, through that, do we? Or children or grandchildren. We want a peaceful and orderly transition from Christo-liberalism to secular Coronism. We want an orderly, legal and peaceful ways, and I just don't see why not if people are being reasonable,
Well, the other thing is, because it's simply not us, and you're going to love this, here we are, but most of us would rather die than hand over Western civilization to a foreign ideology that was born in the desert, Claire, to a people.
Well, you had no problem with Judaism and worshipping a Jew, so why are you moaning over a bit of Muhammad?
Well, actually we do. Because Christianity was made European over millennia, essentially, and was wrangled into something completely unrecognizable from this desert tribal shit where it popped up, and
but
it was completely changed. It was Europeanized.
Yeah, but it failed. It failed to protect the institution of monarchy.
Not for hundreds of years, not for thousands of years, basically.
Well, 500 years. It only has a history of about 500 years, and it's
Lambie's got it right. We're Pagistians. This is nothing like this, desert-dwelling religion of how it started. Nothing like it.
Well, it's the same part of the world. I don't know why you're having so much trouble with your geography.
No.
It's the Holy Land.
No. The version that we have is distilled through the European people, with the European spirit built into it. Even E. Michael Jones has tried to make this claim to you, hasn't he?
He says, Inshallah. Did you know that? He and Gemma O'Doherty.
Well.
Yeah, they do, and they can't help it. And they think it's yeah, I know. I wish I could find. Well, it's right at the end. I could find it, and I could make a clip of it. And anyway, if it's the same God, God, what's the problem?
What is the problem?
Names. Well, you just admitted you need religion as a social technology that even white people need.
I am saying that, like it or lump it, Christianity worked. Oh, look, I know if David Yorkshire listened to this, he'll pipe up in the chat. No, it fucking didn't, or whatever. So I understand.
He says, Inshallah, in real life.
No, yeah, Miami Virtue says it in real life. Look, whatever you think of Christianity, for, I don't know, about what, 1800 years it worked perfectly fine. and it was a driving force that allowed Europeans to identify themselves tribally. In my opinion, many times for the worst, like we were talking about the Civil War in England on Brutus's show the other day, and that really was like a war of Protestant sects. Really, people have got way too spurgy about these inter-ethnic tribal conflicts, but at the very least, it allowed Europeans to rally under a tribal banner, like against invaders, particularly of the Mohammedans. So it used to work, now it doesn't. I get it.
If God exists, maybe he intended for Christianity to be adopted and then to fail. Maybe he was waiting for the Christians to acquire their 3 global empires, so when the final one collapses, Islam will fill the vacuum globally.
Well, that's a lot of ifs.
Well, I think it's quite an attractive narrative if you think you're going to benefit from it. Because if you call the situation early, then you can say, "I told you so," and then you might get lots of damsels hoping.
By the
that
way,
you will
which
propose to
version
them.
of Islam is God planning to take over? Is it Sunni Islam? Is it what's the other one?
Shia.
Shia Islam.
Well, okay.
It's not
The Muslims hate
Khaled's
me because I
weird
say they're
Islam,
both
is it?
wrong. No, the Muslims hate me because I say you're all wrong. You're both wrong. Because they have odd beliefs and they do wrong things, and I can, easily point to parts of their history when they obviously did the wrong thing, and they were warned. These Muslims were warned not to divide themselves into sects and rejoice into in their own doctrines, and that was precisely what they did. And now they're fighting each other and easily divided and ruled by the wicked Western imperialists, and they don't know what to do. And they anyway. So I'm going to say both Shia and Sunni are wrong. And anyway, Sunni Islam is not an organized religion like Judaism. So, Sunni Muslims haven't got a supreme leader, but at least the Iranians have. They have their supreme leader of the Republic of Iran. So technically they have a supreme leader. But the Sunnis, the only Islamic scholars that you can think of, they don't have a top Islamic scholar. They live in kingdoms, and this means the frightened of their king signing their death warrant or throwing them into the dungeons. So everything they say is basically compromised. And those who live in America or the West are frightened of what Western governments would do to them if they, supported secular Quranism.
Here is the big question that you have to answer, you Islamists who believe that the future is Islam, right? In the Middle Ages, when Islam popped up, both Western countries and Arabian countries, Middle Eastern countries, were like, I don't know, in a very dilapidated condition. They were kind of at the same place. Why is it, if Islam is such a civilizational force, like for the future, if it is such a good thing, why is it that Western countries outperformed Islamic countries by 100 to 1,000 to 1? Why is it that European countries led the way of innovation, science, technology, all the advancements that we exist today? We're sat here talking through the advancements of Western civilization that never came out of these other places.
Because every time you have a war, you have some form of technological advance. And you can't deny that, because
Well, Islamic countries have
you're
been
thinking of
fighting amongst
new
themselves
and
forever.
different ways of killing each other.
Well, this doesn't make any sense because
Yeah,
Islamic
then that's
countries
why you took
always
over the
fighting.
world, because you were fighting each other, and then and you thought, oh, we'll use the weapons against the rest of the world. Well, off we go to Africa and Asia,
Oh, here
and
we
then to
go
go
now. This is
and
colonialism.
America.
You're going to
Yeah,
give me the
yeah, I won't
anti-colonialist
deny it.
argument, are you? White men put
No, no, no.
down the
You
browns.
were intended to take over the world, so that when the world is under
White men have been
one
keeping the poor
empire.
brown people down. This is your
No, no,
argument,
it
isn't
doesn't
it?
matter. It doesn't matter. Um, I'm not, hating on you lot for your empire. How can any
What
Chinese person hate on
what should we
you
do? Give
people for your empire?
reparations?
Oh, no, you don't have to pay. Just say no. Just say no.
If anything, we've lost the plot so much. We're giving up our advantages and like sharing it with the rest of the world who would still be in the Stone Age. I mean, just look at Afghanistan. They're still in the Stone Age, basically. We must be crazy to share the advancements of Western civilization with the rest of the world. But this is what we're like. This is, who was it? Nick Gilvey has told me that I must read Kevin MacDonald's latest book about like the altruism of white people, of the Western man, because we are so altruistic. We like look around at the world, at the rest of the world, who on the same timeline of history has just not advanced anywhere near to our level, and we're like, we want to help you up. Let us give you all our money. Let us tax our own citizens to send money and aid and all our wealth over to you to lift you up higher than you ever could lift yourselves up.
Well, I don't think you did it all out of the kindness of your hearts. I mean, it's like, yes, you gave India the railway. So, but you wanted to get around India more quickly, right, and move stuff around. I mean, and your universities wanted all these foreign students to come and learn your enlightened ways and your high technology, so that they can serve you better. And they do. These Indians who come from Bangalore to, Silicon Valley, you need them to do it because, well, I guess you don't teach, your own people the STEM subjects anymore.
Well, AI is going to get
Yeah.
around
When
all
AI
this.
is taken away, you'll all die, I suppose. Who will I talk to without AI to be my friend and my companion and my advisor and my priest?
The next argument that I want to make to the person who claims we need to impose Islam upon England, the greatest nation that has ever been known on the face of the earth, and who has colonized the rest of the earth with nothing less than the language itself with which men think in their own minds. We have colonized the globe with the Anglo, I don't know, yeah, call it the mind virus if you want, but with language itself. Is why did yourself leave Malaysia to come here if it's so bad?
I didn't
set up
say
shop
it was
here.
bad in Malaysia. For some reason, I was drawn to
Here.
England.
Yes, you were drawn here. Why?
Yeah. I could have gone to Australia or America. I don't know. I just felt
Or
drawn
Iran,
to England.
which is which Islamic country in
I'd
the
like
world?
we should go to Iran one of these days.
Well, you can go and visit. Be serious now.
No.
Which
It
Islamic
would be
country?
such great content.
Which Islamic country in the world would you rather live in?
Well, I'd have to go to say, the Islamic country that I was born in. But I'd like to visit Iran.
So
And
you would prefer?
yeah.
Are you telling me you would prefer to live in Malaysia than in England? Is that correct?
Well, if I'm going to settle in any Muslim country, it would be, the one that I was born in.
Wait. The question is very specific. Which Islamic country would you prefer to live in than England?
Malaysia.
Or do you still prefer to live in England?
I'll see where my mission takes me and where the call of duty comes from. Right now, I have to be here to save the white race, don't I? Because the white race isn't going to save itself with its silliness and nonsense.
So what you're telling me is, even though you think what we need more than anything is Islam, there's not a single place on the face of the earth with Islam that you'd rather live than in England without Islam.
No. I'd like to live in England with secular Quranism with British characteristics. Of course,
Yeah, but
I know what I like.
we're talking about right now. We're talking about right now.
I don't
Where
really
would you rather
No, I have
live?
to be here. Imagine if I was in Malaysia, telling you how to live your lives. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't take me seriously. Well, you take me even less seriously. I have to be here. I have to be in the West to say things. Imagine if I was streaming with you from the North Pole or the Arctic. I mean, I wouldn't even have to be in a Muslim country. You say, well, who are you to tell us what to do? You don't even live here.
But the point is, you very well could leave and go to Malaysia, but you choose not to. So even your first choice Muslim country in the world, you would rather live here in the West in a non-Muslim country than go and live under an Islamic theocracy.
Because I believe, Stephen, that I've been chosen to
Oh, here
save
we
the
go.
white race.
Oh,
I believe that. Yes.
you're a
I
white
have been
supremacist,
chosen.
really, aren't you? You are a white. You're one of. It's a fascinating archetype. You do find this on the internet. Who was that? I was talking about it somewhere. When you meet loads of nat socks on the internet and everything, and that they all turn out to be brown people, and they're like they are like yearning for to be white supremacists. It's a really fascinating thing.
Well, we all want to LARP as something that we're not, right? I mean, our politicians do that a lot. They put on a costume when they go to India. You remember the famous pictures of, Cherie Blair wearing, this Indian thing, and white people who want that red dot in the middle of their forehead and stuff. So, yeah. I mean, it's like children, with their Superman costume and their cowboy and pirate costume and whatever. Yeah, I think we do that.
Yeah.
So okay.
Well,
Here's a narrative. So
Go
I
on.
have been chosen to save the white race, and you're going to think about it and make content about it, right? What else could you be doing? Yeah, you could just be sort of promote. I mean, I've been trying to tell Vincent, like, you have to acknowledge me as the Messiah substitute. And say, well, the Messiah ain't coming. Sorry, Jews, Christians, Muslims, you'll have to make do with Claire Khaw. She's got a new way. She's got a solution to your problems, but it's not the end times yet. And he won't do it. But you see,
What I would
it's
propose-
a narrative. It's a narrative that can grow and go.
what I put to you is that really deep in your heart you knew you were attracted to the same things that make our countries great in the first place, which is this liberty and freedom at the heart of Western societies, that allows for innovation, that isn't stifled by the oppression of government or of theocracy raining down and limiting men's achievements. And this is the ideal when done right, which is is something to yearn for, and you yearned for it and came here to grasp it for yourself. You instinctively wanted to get out from under the boot of a big government, of a stifling ideology, and partake within these freedoms. Now, yes, we're in late stage progressivism. We're all drunk at the party. We need to fix things, but still the bedrock is what you yearn for at the start. And you're mistaken about wanting to
Order
impose
and progress.
Islam upon us.
No, I guess I was drawn to this story because I read too many English novels, maybe too many books and comics in English. But I suppose it is the center of Sodom and Gomorrah, as it is now. So we just need to fix it. And I'm saying, okay, all my ideas are basically Western ideas adapted, for the 21st century, for the particular political purposes that I have in mind. I'm not saying, oh, Confucius say this. I'm saying, ooh, it's in your Bible. It's in the God that you claim to believe in and still worship. Apparently, I am using Western ways of reasoning.
Well,
And you people are important.
I accept that you use the Socratic tradition a lot, and people don't realise this when they interact with Claire. Maybe I shouldn't break the fourth wall here, but what she does is she just throws questions back at you. So if you say, I don't know, the West is the best, she'll say, explain how the West is the best. And you'll go, because we have because we achieved many great achievements through our innovation and the spirit of the Enlightenment or something. Explain how the spirit of the Enlightenment made things better for the West. And it just goes on forever and ever and ever and never ends. It literally is like talking to a computer program that's designed to keep you on the phone forever, to rack up the call cost.
Well, it's free now, fortunately. But these words have to be examined, because we might fight over a word but have completely different understandings of it. But I'm saying the Abrahamic moral system is a problem-solving system. And it's just a shame not to use it. And you must let me show you how. It's a self-correcting moral system, but only if you use it properly.
Well, here's the thing. I also appreciate you because this is your ethnic calling, and the way I explain Claire Khaw, everybody, is that she is fulfilling her ethnos in a way that should be admired in a way, even if you hate it. Because Claire Khaw comes from an Islamic society, an Islamic theocracy, Malaysia, and her ethnicity is Chinese. And when she arrived in the West, what did she immediately begin working to promote and institute? It was an Islamic theocracy, basically with Chinese Communist Party one-party characteristics, So like she's like automatically fulfilling. It's like her instinct is to do this kind of stuff. It's like coming out of her pores. She can't help herself. So it's very organic.
I'm just trying
When
to
people
solve
say
the problem.
when people say you're a foreign agent, I say no. She's just like fulfilling her instincts. This is how we should. This is how we would like Claire Khaw to be.
I'm just trying to help. And you know, have I
In
told
the
you
best
the
way you
story
know
of the
how.
fox cub? Have I told you the story of the fox cub yet?
Go
No,
ahead.
you have. So basically, it was day, and I was walking by, and there was this mangy fox cub in front of somebody's front door in their little garden, and it was standing on top of a pizza box, obviously trying very hard to get at the contents within, and I was thinking, I was willing it to take a step back, so that it could just flip over the box, but only if it got off the top of the box. And I didn't stay long enough to see if it actually did that. And I'm saying the problem is that simple, and you should, help me get the message to the right, the right people, because it's so simple. It's so simple that it would be a shame not to use it. And all these stories of redemption and correction, they're already in Judaism and Christianity, and remorse and penitence and forgiveness, and sackcloth and ashes, repenting in sackcloth and ashes, which your kings used to do.
People are confused
Well,
about your fox story. Allow me to explain. There was a fox stood on a pizza box. The pizza's inside it, and it couldn't get to the food because it's too stupid to realise that the food's inside the box. This is
Yes,
Claire's analogy for society. There's a solution. It's just inside a simple box, and all we have to do is open it and start to use it, and then everything will be fixed.
yes, it's already there. The cure for your disease is already there. It could be just behind you or under you.
There was a fox, hence secular Koranism. Yes, something like that.
Something like
Yeah.
that.
Yes. Anyway, Claire, we're like at 2 hours. How did you think
Yes.
how did you think our debate went? Did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it very much. And I think from what the chat is saying that they've enjoyed it too. Even in my lowly chat on my channel, they seem to have enjoyed themselves. So I'm very pleased about that. And I'm happy that I think I've made most of my points.
Good. What I would say to the chat is we beseech your thumbs up. Thumbs ups are for effort, not for necessarily agreeing with the guest. It's for effort. And we appreciate it, and blah, 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 blah. Now, you should also subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on Claire's channel, you should find my channel, SJJ, and make sure you're subbed here. You should also make sure that you're subbed to the backup channel. Ladies and gentlemen, in case anything happens, SJJMAS will continue over on the backup channel at Musk Maximalist. There's a separate live stream telling you how to get to that channel in case you ever miss it. Now, the time that everybody has been waiting for cometh. What would you like to sing for SJJMAS, Claire?
Oh, once in David City, I think. Do you know it? Royal
No.
David City. You don't
Once
know that?
in
You don't
Royal
like that
David
one?
City.
Yes.
I don't know if I've ever heard it. How does it go?
No. Once in Royal David
David
City.
City.
I didn't get round to getting the lyrics yet. Hold on, lyrics for Christmas.
Once in Royal David City stood a
lonely cattle shed
where a mother laid her baby.
In a manger for his bed. Oh dear, I didn't mean to. Okay, I can't really say. Mary was that mother mild, Jesus Christ, that little child.
He came down to earth from heaven, who is God and Lord of all.
And his soldier was a stable, and his soldier was
We can't hear you. Close to the mic, please.
with the poor and mean and lowly. I think I got that one. Lived on earth, our Saviour holy. Are you going to do the next one then? And then that's the end.
And our eyes at last shall see him through his own redeeming love. I don't know how this goes. For that child so dear and gentle is our Lord in heaven above. And he leads his children on to the place where he is gone.
Not in that poor lowly stable with the oxen standing by. We shall see him, but in heaven, sit at God's right hand on high, when like stars his children crown.
All in white
shall
wait around. Well, that was just absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, Claire. We've got praise in the chat. Claire's not a bad singer, to be fair, says Miami Virtue. Bravo, says SB. Mycroft says you had a good voice. Everybody's happy. Nice attempt, says CCG. So you didn't. Miami Virtue is crying with joy, tears of joy. Serima says 100%. So magical, says Owen Gilmore. They're throwing flowers at you. Apart from Joe, of course. Of course. Boo, says Joe. Wouldn't be Joe without a boo. All right, Claire. Claire's links are in the description. There's her channel. There's her Twitter. I think you already know enough about Claire already, but go and give her a sub. I always encourage her to do more shit show streams like back in the olden days. I think at some point she will get the bug for YouTube again. So there's a channel, there's a link. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, it's been
Merry
fun.
Christmas,
Merry Christmas,
one and all.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Good night, and see you tomorrow for at the very least 2 streams. Good night, everyone.